At 71, Alex Van Halen finally breaks his silence and exposes shocking secrets about Michael Anthony that fans never expected. What really went down behind the scenes of Van Halen's legendary rise? Brace yourself for untold stories of betrayal, hidden tensions, and explosive truths that could change everything you thought you knew about the band's history. This revelation will blow your mind. Don't miss out on the drama unfolding now. Alex Van Halen's story begins far from the bright lights of the rock stage. In Amsterdam, Netherlands, where he was born Robert Alexander Van Halen on May 8, 1953. Growing up in a musical household, Alex was introduced to music at a very young age, thanks largely to his father, Jan Van Halen, who was a professional musician and classically trained pianist. Jan encouraged his children to take music seriously and to explore their talents. This early exposure laid a foundation for Alex's lifelong passion for music. When Alex was still a young boy, his family decided to move to Pasadena, California, seeking new opportunities and a fresh start. This move was a pivotal moment in Alex's life. It put him in the heart of a thriving music scene and placed him side by side with his younger brother Eddie, who was already fascinated by the guitar. Pasadena became the backdrop for the brothers' musical growth and the birthplace of what would eventually become one of rock music's most influential bands. Initially, Alex's first instrument was the piano. His classical training started there. But as he watched Eddie practice and play guitar, something inside him shifted. The energy of the guitar captivated him, but the drums called to him in a way piano never did. Inspired by legendary drummers such as John Bonham from Led Zeppelin and Gene Krupa, Alex was drawn to the physicality and rhythm of drumming. He taught himself to play drums in the garage, practicing relentlessly. His style began to take shape, powerful, precise, and energetic, perfectly suited for the hard-driving rock music that was emerging during the late 1960s and early 1970s. The Van Halen brothers shared a close bond, both personally and musically. They spent countless hours experimenting with sounds, jamming in their family home and dreaming of making it big. Alex's drumming and Eddie's guitar playing were a perfect match. Their sibling chemistry formed the core of what would become Van Halen's distinctive sound. The two pushed each other to improve constantly. While Eddie was exploring innovative guitar techniques and sounds, Alex was developing his ability to lay down a tight yet aggressive beat that could keep pace with Eddie's blistering solos. In those early years, life wasn't always easy. Adjusting to a new country, navigating the challenges of growing up in America, and chasing musical dreams wasn't smooth sailing. But the Van Halen family's dedication to music remained a constant source of strength and motivation. Even as Alex worked various jobs to support himself, his heart was always with the drums. His commitment was unwavering, and he was determined to make a name for himself as a musician. Playing in local bands throughout Southern California, Alex built a reputation as a solid, reliable drummer with a unique style. These early gigs gave him valuable experience, helping him to understand how to connect with audiences and support different musical styles. It was during this time that he and Eddie began seriously discussing forming a band that would eventually become Van Halen. The idea was to create music that was raw, powerful, and different from what was being played by others, something that would shake up the rock world. The early chemistry between Alex and Eddie, combined with their passion for music and the support of their family, set the stage for their incredible journey. Their musical foundation was strong, rooted not just in technical skill, but in years of shared dreams, struggles, and relentless practice. Alex's early life, from Amsterdam to Pasadena, shaped not only the man, but the drummer who would become the heartbeat of Van Halen, helping to create a sound that changed rock music forever. Through all the challenges, one thing was clear: Alex Van Halen was born to play drums, and his journey was just beginning. The story of Van Halen's rise to fame is as much about the unbreakable bond between two brothers as it is about the explosive energy that defined their music. From their early days in Pasadena, California, Alex and Eddie Van Halen shared a passion for music that would ultimately transform them from local musicians into international rock legends. Their connection was not just familial, but musical, a synergy that created the heartbeat and soul of one of the most iconic bands in rock history. In the early 1970s, Alex and Eddie were honing their skills in various small bands and local gigs. They knew they had something special when they played together. Their musical chemistry was unmistakable. Alex's powerful, precise drumming perfectly complemented Eddie's revolutionary guitar techniques, which were already beginning to turn heads. But it wasn't just their talent that set them apart. It was the way they pushed each other to new heights. The brothers had a competitive yet supportive relationship that fueled their growth as musicians. Their dream was to build a band that would shake the music world, and this vision took shape when they teamed up with Michael Anthony on bass and David Lee Roth as the lead vocalist. This lineup, formed in the mid-1970s, became the foundation of Van Halen. Each member brought their unique strengths: Eddie's inventive guitar playing, Alex's solid and energetic drumming, Michael's melodic bass lines and powerful backing vocals, and David's charismatic, flamboyant stage presence. Together, they created a sound and image that was raw, energetic, and entirely new. Van Halen's early performances in local clubs and bars were electric. The band quickly gained a reputation for their high-energy shows and musicianship. Fans were drawn to their unique blend of hard rock, flashy solos, and infectious enthusiasm. It was clear that this was not just another rock band. They had a spark that was impossible to ignore. The brothers' connection was the foundation that held the band together amid the chaos of the fast-paced music scene. Their big break came when they caught the attention of Warner Brothers Records in 1977, which led to the release of their debut album, Van Halen, in 1978. The album was a game-changer. From the opening track, Running with the Devil, to the blistering Eruption guitar solo, the album showcased their raw power and technical skill. Alex's drumming was a driving force, giving the songs a relentless energy that perfectly supported Eddie's guitar fireworks. The album's success catapulted the band into the spotlight, and their reputation grew rapidly. As Van Halen's popularity soared, the bond between the band members, especially the Van Halen brothers, was tested in ways they hadn't expected. The pressures of fame, intense touring schedules, and the demands of the music industry began to weigh on them. Despite this, Alex and Eddie's connection remained a constant source of strength. Their shared history and mutual respect helped them navigate the stormy waters of rock stardom. Michael Anthony also played a crucial role in holding the band together. His steady bass playing and harmonious vocals balanced the dynamic personalities of the group. The chemistry between the four members was palpable, and their ability to feed off each other's energy made their live performances legendary. Audiences could feel the tight-knit connection on stage, a rare quality that made Van Halen concerts unforgettable experiences. The 1990s were a decade of massive success for Van Halen. Albums like 1984 cemented their place as rock royalty. Hit singles such as Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher became anthems of the era. Throughout this period, Alex's drumming evolved, becoming more refined but never losing its aggressive edge. His ability to lock in with Eddie's guitar work provided a solid backbone for the band's signature sound. Behind the scenes, the brothers continued to support each other despite the inevitable tensions and conflicts that arise in any close relationship. They shared a vision for the band's future and were fiercely protective of what they had built together. The trust between Alex and Eddie was the glue that held Van Halen together through creative differences and the pressures of fame. David Lee Roth's departure in the mid-1980s was a significant moment for the band. It challenged their unity and tested their resilience. Yet, the core relationship between the Van Halen brothers remained intact. They welcomed new vocalist Sammy Hagar, ushering in a new era for the band. Even as the lineup changed, Alex and Eddie's bond was the constant heartbeat of Van Halen's music. Touring and recording in the 1990s brought new challenges. Health issues, personal struggles, and evolving musical tastes pushed the band in new directions. Alex's ongoing battle with ankylosing spondylitis affected his ability to perform, yet he remained committed, determined to keep the band's legacy alive. Through it all, the brothers' relationship weathered the storm, grounded in decades of shared experience. The Van Halen brothers' partnership was about more than just music. It was a lifelong connection forged through adversity and triumph. Their ability to communicate musically and personally set them apart from many other bands. It was this deep understanding that allowed Van Halen to create music that resonated with millions and to endure the ups and downs of a tumultuous career. As time went on, the dynamics within the band shifted. The public often saw the glitz and glamour of their rock star lifestyle, but behind the scenes were complex relationships filled with loyalty, frustration, and love. Alex and Eddie's bond was sometimes strained, but never broken. Their shared history and musical genius kept them tethered together, even when other aspects of the band were in flux. Today, the legacy of Van Halen is inseparable from the story of two brothers who dared to dream big and redefined rock music. Alex's steady drum beats and Eddie's innovative guitar work created a sound that inspired generations. Their journey from the local stages of Pasadena to worldwide fame is a testament to their talent, dedication, and, most importantly, the unbreakable bond between brothers and bandmates. In reflecting on Van Halen's rise, it's clear that their success wasn't just about individual talent, but about the collective energy and connection that drove them forward. The brotherly bond between Alex and Eddie Van Halen, combined with the camaraderie of their bandmates, was the secret ingredient that turned a dream into a legendary reality. Their story is one of music, family, and the relentless pursuit of greatness that continues to inspire rock fans around the world. Van Halen's story is not only one of explosive success and groundbreaking music, but also one marked by deep personal struggles and growing tensions beneath the surface. While the band soared to international fame in the late 1970s and 1980s, behind the roaring guitars and thunderous drums was a complex web of strained relationships, unspoken frustrations, and emotional battles that shaped their journey as much as their music did. From the very beginning, the band's dynamic was a mix of intense creativity and strong personalities. Eddie Van Halen's guitar genius was undeniable. He transformed the instrument with his innovative techniques and inspired millions. Alex Van Halen, his brother and drummer, was the powerful heartbeat that kept the band grounded. Together, they formed the core of the band's sound, but around this core were members with their own strengths, egos, and challenges. Michael Anthony, the bassist, and David Lee Roth, the charismatic frontman, completed the early lineup that would take the rock world by storm. They brought energy, style, and showmanship. However, as the band's fame increased, the pressures of constant touring, recording, and media attention began to expose cracks in their relationship. One of the biggest sources of tension was the clash between David Lee Roth's flamboyant personality and the rest of the band's evolving musical direction. Roth was known for his wild stage antics, irreverent humor, and larger-than-life presence, which captivated audiences but sometimes caused friction behind the scenes. His desire for creative control and his strong opinions often led to clashes with the Van Halen brothers, who wanted to push the music forward in their own way. As the band matured, these creative differences became harder to reconcile. While the music was still electrifying, the harmony within the group was deteriorating. Roth's departure in 1985 was a dramatic turning point, fueled by both personal disagreements and professional conflicts. His exit left a void that was difficult to fill, and the band faced a period of uncertainty. Enter Sammy Hagar, whose style and voice brought a different energy to Van Halen. Initially, the change revitalized the band, leading to commercial success and new fans. Yet, despite the success, tensions remained. Hagar and the Van Halen brothers didn't always see eye to eye, especially when it came to control and the direction of the band. The balance of power shifted, and conflicts resurfaced, though more subtly this time. Meanwhile, underlying these band disputes was Mick Mars' ongoing personal battle with ankylosing spondylitis. Mick, the lead guitarist, was dealing with a disease that caused chronic pain and limited mobility. His physical suffering was often hidden behind his dedication to music and performing, but it added another layer of complexity to the group dynamic. Mick's health struggles sometimes isolated him from the high-energy, party-driven lifestyle that characterized the band's image. Substance abuse was another shadow hanging over Van Halen. The 1980s rock scene was notorious for its excesses, and Van Halen was no exception. While Mick Mars remained more reserved, other members, including Eddie and the vocalists, battled with drugs and alcohol. These struggles influenced their behavior, strained relationships, and sometimes jeopardized performances and tours. The relentless schedule of touring and recording took its toll, amplifying tensions. Moments of camaraderie and musical brilliance coexisted with bursts of anger, frustration, and sometimes resentment. The band members' different coping mechanisms sometimes clashed, fueling misunderstandings and conflict. Eddie Van Halen's perfectionism and sometimes controlling nature added to the pressure. His obsessive drive for the perfect sound and performance could be inspiring, but it also created stress within the band. He demanded a high level of commitment and precision, which wasn't always easy for the other members to meet, especially when dealing with personal issues. Similarly, Alex Van Halen's role was often underappreciated. and he too faced his own challenges, balancing family life, health, and the demands of being the band's backbone. The brothers shared a close bond, but the weight of leading such a high-profile group was heavy. The departure of Sammy Hagar in the mid-1990s reflected the ongoing instability. Though the band found moments of success, the personal battles and leadership struggles made lasting unity difficult. The brief return of David Lee Roth in the late 1990s brought excitement, but also highlighted how far the relationships had frayed over the years. In the 2000s, attempts at reunion and new projects were often marked by underlying tensions and unresolved conflicts. The band's legacy as one of rock's most influential groups was unquestioned, but the personal dynamics were complicated. Members grappled with past grievances, differing visions for the future, and the realities of aging and health issues. Mick Mars' health continued to decline, forcing him to step back from touring in later years. This shift was difficult for the band and fans alike, symbolizing the physical toll the decades of rock and roll lifestyle had taken. Meanwhile, Eddie Van Halen's own health battles and struggles with addiction added to the challenges of maintaining the band's unity. The internal struggles of Van Halen weren't just about personalities. They reflected the pressures of fame, the challenges of creative collaboration, and the human cost of rock stardom. The band's story is as much about the music as it is about the relationships that made and sometimes nearly broke them. Despite these tensions, the members of Van Halen shared a deep respect for each other's talents and a commitment to the music they created together. The bond forged through years of making groundbreaking rock music remained, even if sometimes strained. Their ability to deliver powerful performances and timeless albums was a testament to their resilience. Van Halen's legacy is a blend of brilliant music and complicated personal histories. The story of tensions and personal battles beneath the surface adds depth to the band's mythos, reminding fans that behind the glitz and glamour were real people facing real struggles. Their journey is a powerful narrative of creativity, conflict, perseverance, and ultimately the enduring power of music to bring people together, even when the bonds are tested. As Van Halen continues to influence new generations of musicians and fans, the lessons from their story about the costs of fame, the importance of communication, and the value of forgiveness resonate as strongly as their iconic guitar riffs and unforgettable songs. The strains beneath the surface, though painful, are part of what made Van Halen's story so compelling and human. The story of Van Halen, one of rock's most legendary bands, is filled with exhilarating highs and devastating lows. But perhaps nothing was as defining as the fallout that followed years of internal tension, personal battles, and changing dynamics. The departures, lawsuits, and questions about the band's future shaped not only the end of an era, but also the legacy that Van Halen would leave behind for decades to come. Van Halen's original lineup: Eddie Van Halen on guitar, Alex Van Halen on drums, Michael Anthony on bass, and David Lee Roth as frontman, crafted some of the most iconic rock music of the late 20th century. Their explosive sound, energetic performances, and distinctive chemistry earned them global fame. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Over time, personal struggles, creative disagreements, and evolving ambitions started to pull the band apart. The departure of David Lee Roth in 1985 marked the first major fracture. Roth was not only a powerful vocalist, but also a personality larger than life. His flamboyance and showmanship helped define Van Halen's early identity. But the growing conflicts with the Van Halen brothers, especially around creative control and direction, though the band found success with Sammy Hagar stepping in as the new lead singer, the magic of the original lineup was never fully recaptured. Michael Anthony's exit was more subtle, but no less significant. As the years passed, Anthony found himself increasingly sidelined. His bass lines and backing vocals were key to the classic Van Halen sound, but he began to feel marginalized, particularly as the spotlight shifted toward Eddie, Alex, and the lead singers. Reports surfaced of Anthony being asked to take a lesser role, and tension brewed between him and other members. His departure left many fans disappointed, as he was considered the heart of the band's rhythm section and a familiar face on stage. Amid these personnel changes, the band's internal relationships became increasingly strained. Eddie Van Halen, the guitar virtuoso who is the driving creative force, struggled with personal demons, including battles with addiction and health issues. These struggles affected his relationships within the band and added layers of complexity to their already fragile dynamics. Alex Van Halen, the drummer and Eddie's brother, faced his own challenges trying to hold the group together amid growing disagreements. The turning point came when Mick Mars, the lead guitarist from Motley Crue, who had been battling ankylosing spondylitis for decades, announced his retirement from touring in 2022 due to health reasons. Though not a Van Halen member, Mars's story highlights how chronic illness can affect legendary rock musicians and their careers. This moment symbolized the harsh realities that even the greatest artists must face. Age and health can no longer be ignored. Back with Van Halen, the departures eventually led to bitter legal disputes. Mick Mars's lawsuit against Motley Crue for mistreatment set a precedent for the kinds of legal battles that can erupt when longtime bandmates fall out. Van Halen's own legal battles, particularly involving the rights to the band's name, royalties, and shares in the group's earnings, highlighted the challenges of managing a brand built on shared history but fractured personal relationships. Eddie Van Halen's health issues worsened over time, especially his battle with throat cancer, which eventually claimed his life in 2020. His passing left a profound void in the music world and within the band's story. Eddie's death marked the end of an era and sparked reflections on his lasting influence on rock music. Despite the turmoil and conflicts, his legacy as one of the greatest guitarists in history remains unchallenged. After Eddie's death, questions about the future of Van Halen became urgent. The band had lost its core member and creative force. While Alex Van Halen and other members considered continuing, the reality was that without Eddie's presence, the band would never be the same. The band's legacy was secured, but its future was uncertain.